Good afternoon. Welcome to Topics at 12 on Thursdays at noon. We are very excited today to have with us several guests. We are discussing family-friendly business practices with Family Forward North Carolina. The Topics at 12 is a webinar series that is being provided by the Rockingham County Economic Development Office, Team Reidsville, the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce, and the Small Business Center with Rockingham Community College. We have been really just blessed to have this partnership with all of these folks, and I guess post-pandemic starting, we wanted to group together and bring you relevant topics to our small business owners that you could navigate not only the pandemic, but what the future looks like moving forward. I'm Diane Sawyer with the Reidsville Chamber. I would love for you to engage with us if you have any questions. It's going to be a great webinar, and having said that, I am going to turn it over to Family Forward North Carolina. Welcome, guys, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Diane. It's great to be here, and thank you to all the co-hosts for the program today, especially the Community College Small Business Center. My name is Lisa Fineldi, and I'm the Community Engagement Leader at the North Carolina Early Childhood Foundation, and Family Forward is an initiative of my organization. Samara, you can change the slide. So today we're going to be talking about how, as a business, by creating family-friendly workplaces, you are making a decision to be more strategic in your opening, but also have a business model that will support your organization and employees, as we move forward in the future. Next slide. So as I mentioned, as part of the Early Childhood Foundation, our initiative is around improving children's health and well-being and keeping your business competitive. And so we have been looking at research-based practices that you can consider to increase your productivity, your recruitment, your retention, and grow a strong economy. And most importantly, from my organization's perspective, that you're supporting the future workforce through our children's healthy development. Next slide, please. So just a minute on our organization. We are working on policies and practices that support children from birth to age 8. And I'll tell you in a minute why that's so important. And our work is really to bring people from all across North Carolina to realize that vision, that all children have a great foundation for their academic and career and life success. Next slide, please. So today the focus will be on sort of a during and post-COVID, how using these practices will help you to open earlier with a strategic advantage, bringing employees back to work more quickly and fully. And also, as we know, there is just tremendous concern about safety for both everyone in the workplace, customers, and also employees go home to their families. Next slide, please. So I just want to tell you a little bit more about why this period of birth to 8 matters so much for our children. This is the most rapid period of their development. And the early experiences that children have, whether they're positive or negative, they are built into their body and it shapes their brain architecture. And you can see here the statement that I have up about how every experience is forming a connection in their brain at more than 1 million of those per second. And those synapses are what really create those connections for social and emotional health, and many other factors that shape a child's life. I think what's most important here for our discussion today is that by supporting children's health, you are really looking towards creating the workforce of tomorrow, and that's all of our responsibilities. Next slide, please. So the program looks like this. As a result of COVID, we've shifted our work a little bit, and we're offering a 3-part webinar series. Today is webinar 1, which you will see live. And we also have a companion return to work kit. And that goes along with the webinars, showing you resources, tools, ways that you could make choices and goals for your business and how you may be able to realize them. We'll also offer an online community if you want to learn from others in your industry. And as a result of participating in the program, you would have an opportunity to apply for more direct support from the experts in a one-on-one setting. Next slide, please. So I want to introduce our team today. The Perf4 Mentor team is a group of excellent HR professionals. Amy has a lot of experience in being an HR leader, and so she understands the big picture around what it takes for companies to make these choices and the balance between that and their business goals. And also Amanda is our behavioral analyst, and she's worked across industries. And Jim has a very expansive focus on the hospitality industry. And so today, Amanda and Jim will be presenting for us today. Next slide. Then I'm going to have a poll, and Samara is going to bring up the poll. And we're asking you to just quickly answer what one word best describes how you're feeling right now about your business. And we'll just take a minute to give you a chance to complete it. Okay, I think we'll end there. And two of our responses are really about worry, and one of them is about opportunity. So I think today you'll be hearing about both of those, and the Perf4 Mentor team will really be focusing a majority of their attention on innovation, creative thinking, and different ways to use the situation as an opportunity for your business. So if you can stop sharing, and we will turn it over to the team.
Great, thank you, Lisa. So one of the things that I really wanted to highlight is I'm hearing a sense of stress and fearful, and we're going to talk a little bit about the mental health effects of what is happening right now in COVID. Also, I'm seeing that people feel motivated and innovative right now to stay alive and keep our doors open. We're having to be innovative, and this is a time where we're having to really look at our policies and procedures. So 20% of small businesses remain closed right now, which is, again, people are worried about their pipelines, and that adds to that fear and stress and anxiety. 80% of small businesses reported making business adjustments because of COVID-19. So this is reduced work hours, employees asked to remain home if they're sick, incorporating PPE and social distancing. And then 7% of all employers are concerned that they will have permanently closed in their second phase. So again, just people are really worried about their pipeline, and are they really predicting what their sales forecasts are they accurate? Are they not? How are you engaging with that? But then really what this means, if we can advance to the next slide, for people that are families, and what this impact really has is, really just thinking through the dramatic loss in work hours and the childcare right now. Is there's a childcare crisis, and we're not sure if schools are going to open. So really, even with, I have some other statistics that weren't on here, but 91% of businesses right now are practicing adjustments, and 60% are doing emergency preparedness, but really only 32% of employers are only addressing childcare issues. And so, with that, it really highlights that there's a lot more to be done around childcare and what we're really doing to help our families. And additionally, another statistic is that I want to say it was about 60%, right around 60% of families that have children feel like it's impacting their work right now. So we really need to look at and engage our employees. So one of the policies that we want to really look at are lagging or absent might be PTO policies. It might be something around leave. Let's look at making sure that people can access good benefits and healthcare benefits as well to stay healthy. And that gets into mental health. What is your mental health supports? And do you actually have access to good benefits for people to access right now? So I am going to turn it over to Jim, if you want to advance the next slide, and I'm looking forward to the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate that. Again, my name is Jim from Perf4 Mentor. We're going to take you through a good part of the remainder of the slides. And we're going to talk a little bit about what the new normal might look like for small businesses, the impact and what the change might be with our employees, as well as some of these family forward benefits that we may be able to implement that are going to help your business on several levels. So we're going to talk all about that, plus give you some examples of some business that have already implemented some of these family-friendly practices. So these are going to be high-level strategic operating shifts today that we're going to talk about, which is why we need many of these points to resonate as key takeaways today to help set us up for the future. So between Family Forward North Carolina and Performentor and their Return to Work Kit and the one-on-one consulting, we'll help you leverage some opportunities to come back stronger. I think good and bad, this industry was going to look much different. And as you can see, many of folks have started with some new products as a result of COVID. In the hospitality side, there's been a lot of takeout. Many manufacturers have adapted their lines to produce different products. We know that physical layout is going to have to change. There's going to be an enhanced sense of how do we reduce our risk and make sure we have business continuity moving forward. And then lastly, an area that I'm going to talk a lot about today will be our labor costs. And right now, I mean, every business has different percentages of labor costs, but we know that right now, many of our business are operating at less income. And with that said, the current percentage of labor costs is really not going to be able to be sustained, inclusive of the turnover that goes with that costs. Next slide. The public and private sectors have taken significant steps to support small businesses. More than half of the small businesses believe it's going to take almost a year to return to pre-COVID operations. That includes revenues. Communication is definitely going to be needed and has been enhanced with customers and employees. And while mechanism and automation has changed many industries, skilled workers are still going to be needed in place. And I think moving forward, in order to be able to sustain this level of turnover that we've been experiencing, we're going to have to take a look at how we treat our employees. This, coupled with the generational shift, will create a higher demand for the average worker, and the drivers of retention are going to become very different. So traditionally, the soft cost of hiring, training, and retraining is going to end up being a very significant line item on the P&L. Internal communication will be key, and how the evolving pandemic knowledge will be utilized to protect employees and your organizations. There'll be shifts on how we do business will forever be changed, minimizing the potential future impact of infections and require alternate labor structures, production methods, all to limit contact across the workforce. Next slide. So businesses have responded. 73% of small businesses are paying sick leave pre-COVID, and now we're trying to enhance that benefit package. Of that 73%, though, I want to add that 88% of those folks that were getting paid sick leave were professionals in management. The remainder, 58%, only 58% were getting, of service workers were getting those same paid leaves. And it's even smaller in hospitality and manufacturing. So it's a really big need for us to take a look at how we do address paying leave. 60% of the companies expect to hire back their employees. The other 40% are not so sure. We're all trying to upskill our workers, and that's going to help us to build better capacity and help them flex into bigger roles and mitigate some risk. And the changing consumer behaviors are impacting our businesses as well. Many businesses have started to look at service quality instead of price, and building consumer loyalty through marketing campaigns are going to help engage the community. So you're in good company, and simply by being here, you'll learn the best, most efficient, and cost-effective ways to offer your employees family-friendly benefits and easing their return to work. Many employees have reported that they plan to reevaluate who they work for. Many are perceiving that there will be more jobs than available workers. And many new trends will put small businesses at risk due to changing consumer behaviors. Think about many people are making less trips to the store. That may indeed favor larger retailers. And then your employees are not only coping with COVID, they've been, in many cases, left unprepared to handle this pandemic, which has been painfully obvious by the strain on the economy. And we know that you feel it too. Next slide. Employee needs are also changing. This psychological contract that we talk about between employers and workers has not changed for many years. But employee preferences are radically changing because of this pandemic. And this will impact small businesses greatly. And all of you are going to need to respond. Many of these new preferences are millennial-based, changing the dynamic and demographics of the business. And keeping in mind, 50% of the workforce are employed by small businesses. So this isn't a corporate thing, but we really need to start hiring for organizational fit, We need to focus on deep training to develop our employees, help them advance, and then lastly, really create flexibility with scheduling options. Next slide. Thank you. Research shows that new employees are now beginning to think that they would take a job with more benefits over less and take less compensation as a result. So the shift is definitely happening. So how should a small business to medium-sized business go about designing a benefits portfolio that's not only competitive, but also spot on when it comes to meeting the diverse needs of a multi-generational and multicultural workforce? Benefits benchmarking by industry, region, and size is most critical, as is keeping a watchful eye over the benefit packages that other employers in your marketplace who are aggressively hiring are offering. So it's not just about your immediate industry, it's about the competition in your market that we're hiring from. So you're competing against other businesses, and many other businesses can afford to give better benefits. The key will be to aim at a higher benchmark and stand out as an employer that values its employees by offering a superior benefits package. In addition, many turnover problems are attributed to the employee experience. Sometimes we call that employee engagement. One of the things that employers can do if they're offering a nice benefits package is to create a total reward statement. So we can take you through how to do that as well, but essentially that details the employee's direct and indirect compensation. Some people refer that as the hidden paycheck. So we know your initial thoughts when you hear some of this is, how can we afford to do this when our capacity in general has just been cut in half? And the answer is you really can't afford not to do it. And that's why we're here to help. Next slide, please. So this new generation, this new workforce is coming with some new values. And benefits and working conditions are most important to the workforce. This has obviously been heightened by COVID as well. Think about the competitive edge with regards to the future of work to be able to take better care of your employees. And these are many of the same employees that have stood through you during this pandemic, right? We'll talk about new staffing models and the family-forward benefits that can be offered at a minimal cost, and in some cases even cost neutral. So this isn't really a sprint as much as it is a marathon in building a better benefits package that are more family-friendly. Next slide, please. So talking about family-friendly benefits, we're going to go through some of these. I'll give you a couple examples, and then we're going to do another poll, and we're going to ask for you to list 2 of these family-friendly benefits that you think will have the most impact on your employees. So the first one we talk about is paid leave. And really, we cannot have our workers coming to your business any longer feeling sick, primarily because they can't afford to miss a day's pay. Super critical right now, right? Flexible work and creative scheduling will be necessary and may in part help your labor cost. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but many businesses have added a 3rd shift or adjusted hours to reflect sales trends versus labor. In the past, labor used to be very inexpensive and we could stay open as long as we really wanted to. That is changing for the industry too. Predictive scheduling, we're going to talk a lot about that in a minute, but depending on your business, can everybody start working a consistent shift every week? Because if we could, it would in turn help our employees plan for childcare expenses and sometimes parental care. Health and wellness benefits are also important, and a creative approach will help you retain your staff. Think about what technology has done to our options. Now we have telemed. And then lastly, with childcare, from simply changing your attendance policy to lessen childcare-related absences to helping locate, maybe even subsidize emergency drop-in care locally. We have many case studies that illustrate some creative ways employers are helping meet employees' childcare needs. So let's try this poll now. If that's been enough time, we can pull up the responses. Take a look at that. Interesting. We definitely think flexible work, predictive scheduling, that's good. More childcare and a combination, it's all really good. Of course, leave is important too. Thank you. Next slide, please. So building better teams to win business. We'll definitely need to have a deeper dive into the execution of implementing specific benefits. Creative family-friendly benefits will help attract a team that wants to work for you versus needs to work for you. Many part-time employees will have full-time jobs elsewhere and employ a suite of family-friendly benefits targeted to the part-time workforce to help build and retain it. So family-friendly benefits can really help recruit new employees, as there'll be more people for fewer jobs in the competition for talent. What lower cost additions can you make that will have a strong appeal to tomorrow's workforce? What about your value package will keep your employees from leaving you? Think about what the average worker has been through. Has the definition of loyalty changed? So we're going to be considering and asking you to consider paid leave as part of a PTO package, affordable health benefits, or childcare as an opportunity that will give you this competitive edge in the business place. And we'll talk more about a couple examples too. But through our one-on-one consulting, we'll also explore options that will be specifically tailored to your business. Next slide. Performanter can design a customized staffing matrix tool utilizing your specific labor to determine a labor cost point that allows for a maximum amount of staffing at the lowest cost, but yet still have the ability to provide ample coverage to support some of the challenges that your employees will be continuing to face. There will be long-term staffing models will definitely help create better customer experiences. Think about some of your long-term employees that know your customers by name, and customers come in asking for specific employees. We'll have to talk about some out-of-the-box alternatives for staffing. Some cross-training and job sharing models will really help. And then I think creative staffing, in particular with the full-time, part-time mix, is going to be very important as well. If you look about part-time, it really falls into three areas. The first being short-term jobs, which is often utilized when volume isn't at peak and we cut hours back. So sometimes it's an involuntary part-time work. There's also retention jobs, which are for many valued employees who maybe life circumstances are preventing them from working full-time hours. Think about how that might fall into childcare needs. And then lastly, the third type of part-time work is secondary jobs. And for the most part, this has always had a negative connotation, but it definitely implies a cost-saving opportunity to your business and to our new workforce. Manufacturing, for example, has only employed an average of about 10% part-time workers. Hospitality and tourism has notoriously had a higher part-time workforce of 90%, and many small businesses fall in the middle, but we think this is an opportunity to really increase that part-time mix as a business advantage. Some examples might be staggering staffing options or adjusting the mix for re-entry and ramp-up, changing the number of employee shifts or the size of employee shifts. Many businesses I've heard of working 4 10-hour days to limit some of the exposure. And everybody's cross-training now. We absolutely understand that many of these examples and recommendations that you're hearing today are going to cause additional work and effort on a manager's part. And we understand that it will never be the same, but nor should it be the same again. Next slide. So another one of the family forward benefits that we'll talk to now is predictive scheduling. I'm going to try to review these 10 areas now that are typically yield results if you are using predictive scheduling, and we're going to ask you in the next poll to select 3 of these items. But all the results of predictive scheduling are having better employee coverage, reduction in employee turnover, enhanced benefits, cross-training so people can do multiple jobs, reduced overtime rates, have more backfill, and a strong employee brand in the market. Not to mention employees who are focused on the customer. So which of these 3 do you think will have the best results for your business? I'm glad to see that enhanced employee benefits we think will have the biggest positive impact. And I think you're right there, but it's really all over the board. But I think we're getting a good sense that these are going to be some positive results, and many times it will be a result of predictive scheduling. Thank you. Next slide. Now we're going to talk about some examples of some businesses that have implemented a variety of different family forward benefits. So one is Automattic Solutions. They started offering healthcare for the first time for employees in 2019. They have 75 employees in total and 50 of them elected coverage. And the impact on employees' lives was really significant because prior to offering healthcare, some team members were unable to pay for certain medications they needed or insulin. And many of these stories the employer didn't even know about. But the new healthcare offerings definitely allows team members and their families to be healthier. So why incur the costs of expensive offering additional health benefits? Well, we think it's an excellent retention tool. Healthy families mean less time away from work and a more focused employee. And many times children will heal more quickly when the parents are able to be home taking care of them as well. Next slide. So these are two restaurants in the Triangle area. They have increased their compensation, paying a living wage to $15 an hour for servers and for the back of the house. They're also paying 14 days of paid sick leave to their employees as well. They're very creative with the food they serve, but are also getting creative about their people. They've defined hospitality as sustainable hospitality, and what they call it is a commitment to generous experience for our guests and employees that could be maintained, altered, and evolved. And the key here is without detriment to either group's experiences. How does this translate to your business? Feel free to put some of that in the chat box as well. And this is a family forward case study that will be published. But why move from gratuities to a living wage was the question. And that's because it's foundational to support families, and customers are really expecting to pay more post-COVID and are willing to transition now to a higher price in exchange for a work environment that's perceived as more safe. Next slide. This is a manufacturing client that produced or put affordable childcare rather, on site. They knew the lack of quality childcare in the community was causing a lot of emotional and financial hardship for their employees. There are many ways that we can add childcare on site. That's becoming looked at very closely now, and Family Forward has some great pieces of information they can share with you in order to help you do that. Why do that? Why offer childcare on site, or subsidize childcare for that matter? We realize that 20% of parents' income goes to childcare, and the stress that Amanda talked about earlier on working parents impacting productivity all around lack of childcare. Next slide. When we talk about the future of work, we need to explore what benefits will resonate for employees and provide the best options for you. When we consult to the industry, we outline a strategy that's not only customized, but works for your business needs. And here are some potential items that we can offer part-time workers. We can do a prorated paid leave, accident, catastrophic insurance, and telemedicine, employee assistance plans. These are all fairly inexpensive options that we can offer to part-time workers. I think that's going to be a significant advantage as we start retooling and getting people back to work. Next slide. As we talk about planning for reopening, our customized reopening checklists in the toolkit have incorporated some COVID readiness activities. It helps and shows you how to do a communication plan for monthly updates, establishes really personal contact guidelines for both your employees and your customers, among other things. There's a checklist that will ask many thought-provoking questions that have been assembled after working with other clients in similar positions. What we do is we ask for a new way of thinking, challenging the way we used to think. So what are some other ways that your business can reduce the likelihood of infection? Can we isolate employees with physical plant or footprint changes? If you've altered production to make PPE products or added takeout service, can this be continued? And other thought-provoking questions that the checklist will provide for you. As we close this out and I pass it back to Lisa, a worker-first mindset requires meeting distances protocols and unique PPE requirements for the safety of workers and their families. Employees are looking to their leadership, to you, for support in staying healthy and productive. With that, I'll thank you and turn it back over to Lisa.
Thanks, Jim. I hope everyone was able to take some ideas back to start thinking about for your small business. We're going to launch a final poll, and then I have a few more thoughts for you before I turn it back to Diane. So we'd like to hear about your initial response to what we've talked about today. We like some instant feedback. Okay, well that's great. I see that a lot of people would like to potentially take some more steps, and we're excited to continue working with you. Next slide, please. So just in closing, as a result of being taking this webinar today, we're going to be offering you some more things next week. We have a pre-recorded webinar 2 and webinar 3, and this will take off from what you've learned today. And we have a companion return to work kit. And that really gets into the tools to help you reflect on your business, think about your goals, and then finally think about how you can actually implement those goals. Then, as part of that, if you would like to apply for some one-on-one assistance with our team, there's an opportunity to do that as well. We have limited space for that, but we welcome your application. How you would do that in the next slide is to go to the survey, which Samara is going to put it up in the chat box. The survey was also in the response that you received and when you registered for the webinar. And this is vital for you to answer a few questions so we could understand more about your company and your motivation for making change, but also it is how you tell us that you're interested in moving forward with us, and it gives you access to the materials. On our website, you can see the guide to family-friendly workplaces, and also you can sign up for our bi-weekly newsletter. And with that, I think we're going to have some questions. So Diane, were you going to ask people to put questions in the chat for anybody on the team?
Yes, I did ask people to put, and I was just going through to see if there was any specific that you had not covered. But I think I think they are saying that you covered them, the questions that they had. You ended up covering them later in the slides. So I'm very excited about this. We are very thankful at the Chamber to have been a case study and to be working with you guys pre-pandemic. But obviously, as I told you before, the need for the just the response to this has grown so much. So thank you so much for presenting this. This will be available for some time to come for people to play back, and we're going to continue having individual and one-on-one conversations about this. So I was happy to learn even more today myself that I can share with our Chamber members and other businesses. So I don't see anybody coming off their mute with questions either. I was looking for that. So I think that I just want to say that the resources you see on the screen now are all of the folks here in Rockingham County and Reidsville who are resources for small businesses. So if anybody has any questions for us, we would love to help you with that. I'd like to thank your entire team, Lisa. Gosh, you guys have a large group of folks, and we are very excited to have you and hear from all of you. Is there anything that anybody would like to add?
Diane, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the fantastic Rockingham County Partnership for Children is also a partner with us on this project, and they will be available for support if people want to get into the area of childcare.
Absolutely. And the last thing that I was going to add, we are working with the Reidsville Area Foundation to see how they can continue to support this effort and figure out what that means for the future. So we're looking forward to working with Dawn and her group and April and her group at the partnership. So thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. That wraps up the topics at 12 today. Next week, we will have, I believe we are working towards more social media and other topics, and that will be coming out both on Facebook and email soon. So thank you all for attending. See you soon.